Tuesday is Tuesday. It's $2 Tuesdays? $2 Tuesdays again? What? Get out of here. All right, so listen, this is what we're going to do. I got $4. So, yeah, meet me at the bar. I'll get your first drink. I'll get the first round. You get the second round. What's going on, y'all? How you feeling out there today? So, in our continuing talks about racist deals or racism this week, just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in D.C. So, I was listening to it because you know how it is once Trump takes over. There's like stuff going on every other day. It's almost like a nonstop media circus. So, but I was thinking, and the way I'm going to have this conversation is that it may not go totally the way you think, especially if you listen to me all the time, how I feel about certain things, but some of it may be. So, I was listening earlier this morning because they do copyright strikes, the Breakfast Club, and they had a conversation with Mayor Muriel Bowser, and she's an African American woman, mayor, and she's saying that she said on the interview that I believe that crime has been down in D.C. about 30%, especially violent crimes, since COVID or over the last year. Don't quote me on it. But once again, as I always say, go look it up and check it out for yourself. I just like to bring the information and the awareness to situations. So Donald Trump, and what we're going to do is, because I want you to watch and hear what he said. But this isn't the first time, and I had to do some research because, I like to find out, is he setting precedent with some of the things that he does that are just like ridiculous and outlandish. I've never heard it in my lifetime, and it was the reason why. So according to NPR, I used to love listening to NPR, but if you go on their website, you can look it up, and it said that after the civil rights movement, not civil rights movement, I'm sorry, back in the 1800s, there was a large migration to DC. So at a certain point, about 30% of the city had become black, with black residents. And after the civil rights movement, a lot of people in the city started to, for the most part, have a lot of pushback because a lot of the people who were being elected were black officials and politicians. So that kind of didn't sit too well with some other residents. So what happened was in 1973, the Home Act was come up with, or bill, and what it did was essentially give Congress / the president rule over Washington, D.C. Since it is just, it's a city, but of course it's not a state, but it is the city and the nation's capital. So it essentially puts it in the line of having executive orders over it, so which Trump is doing now as far as him taking over the police force in there. So let's hear what he has to say really quick, really fast, and then we'll continue.
A lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
So, and, that was compliments, I think, of, let me see, because we want to make sure that we give people their credit. And so that was compliments of Forbes. Yep. Forbes was breaking news on Forbes. What do I think? So, like I said, mine may be a little different than what people may expect to an extent. So, because once again, I told you I still live in Philadelphia, in the city. And so, last night, I'm knocked out. I'm tired, and so it's about, I don't know, maybe I dozed off, I think about 11 o'clock at night, and maybe 10:30. So, and then like most of us that are adults, maybe especially since having kids and worrying about kids and stuff, if you're like me, maybe you only sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours straight. Now, I know some people can still sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours straight, but a lot of times only maybe 4 or 5. So I'm laying down, and I didn't hear a gunshot, I don't think, but I heard like a loud pop, or like a loud, like a, I don't know if it was like a tire blowout, if it was but what I do know is that somebody was in a car chase from the police. And so after I heard this car zoom past like it was going 100 miles an hour on a residential street, I then proceeded to hear 3, 4, then 5 police cars come after one by one by one. So as you can just imagine, you're knocked out, and you're trying to get a good night's sleep. And out of your window, this is what you have to hear at 1:30 in the morning. And now, if it was like a every now and then thing, you'd say to yourself, all right, you know what, I can deal with it. But when it starts to become a reality, you even start to say, I got to get the heck out of here. Because it now has become an issue with destroying your quality of life, even while you try to sleep. And, just like with me and a lot of people, because we know Trump has said before that all of these cities with Democratic mayors, and a lot of them happen to be black mayors, as the case with Washington, D.C. But I don't want to speak for Washington, D.C. because I don't live there. I frequent going, but I don't live there, so I don't know. But what I can say, as far as Philadelphia is concerned, is that we definitely have a lot of these same problems. And I was talking today, shout out to my man, Bob, and just talking about like the state of people here, the younger people, why people are even doing what they're doing, and just different things like that. But when I sit and think to myself that at 1 o'clock in the morning, this sound of this car chase or whatever going on with these cops, like it made me jump up, and then like my heart is like beating like crazy fast. And like I said, it's not like it's an isolated incident where I haven't heard that before, or gunshots or different things like that. But at a certain point, you get tired of it. You get tired of it. And this is the reason why, like, even me, I talk about, people trying to get along, not bashing other fellow brown and black people, or black people, period, as far as that's concerned, and trying to still have a positive message and hope. But these are the things that happen when we start to ourselves not hold each other accountable, where things do start to look like this becomes a government run issue, where, because like I'll give you for instance, I remember back when they had the riots with the Rodney King thing, and I had actually taken some pictures. I don't even know if I still have them, but where there were guys standing out there in front of some of our strip malls. They had the National Guard standing out there with their rifles at ready. And the thing I'm saying is that, and I used to think, even when I was driving past, I was like, what kind of world is this to live in? Like, what in the world is going on where you have all of these officers out, you have tanks out, you have Army Hummers out, where, and they have these guns that can shoot through anything and add and a bunch of ways. And so if anything dumb or wrong goes wrong, you know, they can shoot up the whole block. But what kind of state is this that we're in? And what I mean by state, the mind state, the mindset of living where you don't even feel safe where you live. And it's to the point now where you got somebody like a President Trump who is saying, hey, listen, I know for right here, because I think he tried to do it out in California, in LA, but I know for me right here where I'm at in the DC Capitol, I got too many people telling me, hey, listen, this stuff is going off the rails. There's too much goofy stuff happening. There's too much crime happening. So I got to take a bigger stand on it. And I'm going to tell you something. It gets harder not to have the same type of feeling. I'm telling you. It gets harder. Especially when you got to walk around with your kids, when you got to worry about your kids. And most times you got to worry about somebody that looks, if you're black like me, like you. It becomes hard. Like my mom got to watch the Citizens app every day. Other people I know watch the Citizens app every day. They're getting the Ring camera alerts. And these things aren't coming from people outside of our community. It's coming from us in our community. So what does it say? Because when he talks about bringing in the National Guard, he's not talking about bringing in the National Guard on some white gangs. If you get a chance, I know it might not be as scintillating or fun, but listen to what he said. He talked for about, I think, maybe an hour. And he talks about gangs and other different kind of stuff. We know who he's talking about. He's not talking about the gang of people that did what they did, the Proud Boys, on January 6th, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. He's not talking about that. He's talking about gangs, groups of black people who are running around these cities doing crazy things. And the thing is that why does somebody else have to come in and tell us what we need to do? When you got this skin, it should have said something to you that you are a strong person, that you are a dedicated person. And guess what? You might not be the most successful person, but you are a decent person. You know, it's no other community, to my knowledge, that is overly scared of its own people. Like, why do we got to be scared of our own people? Why do we got to, when we walk out of the house, look both ways and do all of this other kind of stuff? And then, of course, he can't come right out and say, hey, I'm bringing the National Guard in because all of these black boys are acting crazy. He can't say it. But I'm black, so I'll say it. That's what's happening. And I'm going to tell you something. And this is what I mean by my take might be a little different today. Is that there's probably a lot of other people that would welcome that. Because guess what? Nobody wants to go to bed and think that one of their loved ones is going to wake up dead because of some foolishness. Because of a carjacking. Like we got that here now. We've never had this much carjacking. People going and stealing cars so they could commit crimes. Like, what in the world is going on? What have we come to? Everybody's walking around with a gun. Got $8 in their pocket and a gun. But or $800 gun. A $500 gun. But don't have $5. And that's a deeper problem that we'll get into at another time. But what do you think? Do you think we need to start bringing the National Guard to places here like Philly, up to like the boroughs of New York? Because what happens is that, yeah, a lot of times these guys get locked up and everything, but not after the damage is done. People lose their lives. People are paralyzed. People are hurt. And it sickens me because, yes, does racism exist? It does. But what about the caring of your own race? Do you care about your own race? Do you care about the person that looks like you, that looks like your mom, that looks like your sister, that looks like your maybe if you get a chance one day to be child? Do you care? So therefore, this is the kind of stuff that you have. Once again, somebody has to act like, and once again, this is just in DC, but once again, somebody got to come in and act like daddy. Because in a lot of these situations, we can't control ourselves. And like I said yesterday, it's only a small percentage of people. But it seems like everybody, if one of your loved ones gets hurt or shot. Or like me, somebody running around wild, driving wild and crazy, and then almost kills me. And, you know, because everybody understands maybe they didn't do anything wrong. You didn't want to do anything wrong. You had nothing to do with anything. Bullets are flying around. People shooting with switches and 30. Those guns weren't even meant for that. Handguns were not meant for a 30-shot clip. Switches, none of that. But it keeps being sold. It keeps being purchased. It keeps becoming readily available. Guns are meant to kill people. Yeah, they're to defend yourself, but if you shoot somebody, there's a good chance that they could die, especially depending on where you shoot them at. And if you're shooting all over the place, then you will definitely, if not kill, hurt someone. So in this situation, like I said, I don't live in DC. So I don't know if I agree with him wholeheartedly or not. But what I do agree on is that we got to get better. We got to do better. You tell me what you think. But until next time, live life. Don't let life live you.